All of them did not understand what Seo Joo-Heon meant by there was no more hope in this plane. Seo Joo-Heon explained that the worst possibility was that this plane would crash and be destroyed. Seo Joo-Heon saw that those who were fighting had used relics to attack, and if they use the relic too much then it won't be long for this plane to completely crash. Even though they can't prevent themselves from crashing the plane, but they can still survive if they take the right steps. And with that, Seo Joo-Heon was about to explain his plan to them. The sight of people there who were still fighting began to make the other passengers panic. Even Seung-woo, who saw it all, did not understand what they were thinking of fighting on the plane. Yang Chen said that if this plane would crash, but they could still survive. They just needed to finish off the terrorists and some troublesome witnesses. But Yang Chen had a plan, and he was sure that if this plan went well then they could also get rid of Seo Joo-Heon. But Seung-woo was still worried about the safety of the other passengers, but Yang Chen persuaded him that they had no other choice. And Seung-woo agreed with Yang Chen's plan. There were several other passengers there who were scared and panicked. Even Seo-Ah, who was hiding there looking at Yang Chen, who just walked past him. Seo-Ah wanted to follow Yang Chen to know what the man was planning, but she had to keep doing her job to keep the other passengers safe. The other passengers were scared when they saw Seo-Ah coming closer, but Seo-Ah persuaded them that she would not hurt them. Seo-Ah intended to invite the two people to walk to business class on the plane along with other passengers, immediately hearing that the two passengers thanked Seo-Ah, after which Seo-Ah asked the whereabouts of other passengers and immediately moved to save them. Seo-Ah had to move while avoiding the fight that occurred and focused on finding the other passengers. Seo-Ah was worried about how to save the passengers after finding them, but her eyes were distracted by a woman with long black hair standing there. The passengers seemed to ask for help from the person who was fighting there because of his injured condition with his child. The man there threatened one of the terrorists there to give his healing relic, but it seemed that the terrorist did not want to give it to the man, and immediately the woman who had come earlier brought a healing relic for the man with his child. The woman used the relic to heal the wound of the man, and as soon as the wound was healed, the man thanked the woman who had healed him. The man then asked the woman who helped him earlier to heal his wife, but before they could move, the two terrorists called out to her and wanted her to show them the relic because it looked just like the one they had. And the woman innocently admitted that she took it from one of the terrorists she met. The terrorists saw her unconscious colleague there. The woman did not care and instead considered the terrorists evil because they did not want to use the relic to heal the wounded. The terrorists were angry and moved to attack the woman. The woman just stood still and waited for the right moment to attack, and after she saw the opportunity to attack, she immediately knocked down one of the terrorists who advanced on her. Shortly after that, the woman also sent several hard kicks to the terrorists with her feet. The woman fought with the terrorists to take the healing relic and use it on the other passengers. Seo-Ah knew the woman who used to be a medic in Seo Joo-Heon's team named Chloe. Seo-Ah saw Chloe who attacked the terrorist to take the healing relic, but it seemed that Chloe did not cooperate with the TBM. Chloe was seen who had taken several relics belonging to the terrorist, and she approached the other passengers who needed her help. Seo-Ah just watched her from a distance and she assumed that Chloe was on the same side as them. Seo-Ah also intended to watch Chloe further. Meanwhile, with Seo Joo-Heon standing there asking about the task he gave to Yoo Ji-ha earlier, and they both protested to Seo Joo-Heon, who made them rush even though the work was very much, after which Seo Joo-Heon told the two of them to work faster on the assigned task. Because Seo Joo-Heon had also finished with her task of gathering other passengers to save her, and Seo Joo-Heon also felt proud that she had told Seo-Ah to do the rest of her work while she was only in charge of keeping the other passengers safe. Yoo Ji-ha obeyed Seo Joo-Heon's request and immediately finished her work. Yoo Ji-ha said that the fake passengers he made were not made perfectly, And with that, Seo Joo-Heon tried to help and ended up just making a mess there. Seo Joo-Heon used the opportunity when the other passengers became chaotic and panicked to destroy people's views about TBM. Since this plane will be destroyed soon, Seo Joo-Heon intends to take out the fake passengers on the plane and save the real passengers together with him later. They all know that TBM is the culprit of the problems that occur here. And lucky them when they hear Yang Chen calling Sung Jae. Yang Chen asked Sung Jae to come to his side, but it seemed like Seo Joo-Heon wasn't going to leave it at that. Yang Chen then mentioned that Sung Woo had signed the contract and asked Seo Joo-Heon to hand over Sung Jae. But Seo Joo-Heon only said that he wouldn't kill Sung Jae, and that didn't mean he was going to give him back. Seo Joo-Heon said that he would return Sung Jae when the contract was fulfilled and they landed safely. Yang Chen, who saw Sung Woo upset, calmed him down and said that his plan this time would definitely work and he only needed to bring Sung Jae. Yang Chen spoke to Seo Joo-Heon if he would not let Seo Joo-Heon land safely at the airport, because Yang Chen would blow up the plane right now. Seo Joo-Heon was surprised to see the trigger in Sung Jae's hand, and instantly the plane they were on exploded and fell slowly. A huge explosion occurred on the plane and shook the entire plane, making everyone there panic. Seo Joo-Heon snorted in annoyance at seeing this plane that was blown up just like that by Yang Chen, and he hadn't even had time to do anything else. Seo Joo-Heon told Yoo Ji-ha to take out the fake passengers and asked Yoo Ji-ha to hold on to the rope relic. Seo Joo-Heon ordered the rope relic to tie all the passengers along with his team and also Seo-Ah, who was still on the plane, after which the rope relic moved quickly and tied everyone there, while Sung Jae was still on the floor and tried to get up. Yang Chen shouted, calling Sung Jae to come to his side because he was going to use the protection relic. Sung Jae was surprised when he found out that Yang Chen deliberately blew up this plane to avoid the chaos, and he also blamed Yang Chen, who he thought was following them silently and making this problem happen. After Sung Jae moved closer to him, Yang Chen used a relic to protect the bodies of the three of them. As the plane began to lose control and was about to crash in a few moments, the plane crashed and hit the shore hard, making all parts of the plane burn. Meanwhile, Yang Chen was still looking fine due to using the protection relic, and afterward he smiled happily knowing Seo Joo-Heon would not survive the crash. Sung Jae was grateful that they were still safe, and Sung Woo intended to move towards one of the nearby towns. Yang Chen was seen moving towards the wreckage of the plane to check what happened to Seo Joo-Heon, and as he approached the wreckage of the plane, Yang Chen was a little surprised to see the limp body of Seo Joo-Heon lying there unconscious. Yang Chen thought that Seo Joo-Heon would die soon because his situation was getting worse and worse. After that, a large explosion was seen from the direction of the plane, which made them surprised. It turned out that the explosion was deliberately carried out by Yang Chen to ensure that Seo Joo-Heon really died right away. Yang Chen then reported that he had succeeded in killing Seo Joo-Heon with a large explosion. After seeing Seo Joo-Heon unconscious earlier, not only that, Yang Chen had also checked the condition of the bodies of the other passengers who were not much different from Seo Joo-Heon. After they thought everything was done, Sung Woo and Yang Chen moved to head for the Tomb of Pride. Sung Woo was seen blaming Sung Jae, who followed him to make a mess like this happen. Yang Chen broke up those who were about to argue and asked them to leave now. After that, Sung Woo and Yang Chen left the scene of the crime. And if Seo Joo-Heon was trapped there, then he would be the corpse that Yang Chen saw a moment ago. But unfortunately, their plan didn't work because it looks like now Seo Joo-Heon is still fine. Yoo Ji-ha, beside her, is shivering from the cold because they are in a snowy place and only wearing thin clothes. But the cold doesn't last long for Seo Joo-Heon because of the rope relic that warms her. Meanwhile, Sung Jae, who was with him, asked Seo Joo-Heon where they were now, and it seemed that they were in the North Pole. Sung Jae, who was beside Seo Joo-Heon at this time, was the real Sung Jae, and Sung Jae, who was with Sung Woo, as well as Yang Chen, was a copy. Even some of the corpses seen by Yang Chen at that time were all copies, which was deliberately made by Seo Joo-Heon with the help of Yoo Ji-ha and also Louis before this plane fell apart. Yoo Ji-ha took out his fake passengers from Vingo, which aimed to deceive Sung Woo and Yang Chen, where the original passengers were tied with the help of a rope relic, and Seo Joo-Heon moved them all using the relic, the Lonely God's Invitation. But the problem was that they all teleported to a part of the North Pole with extreme cold. Seo there came to Seo Joo-Heon and asked if she was okay. Then Seo Joo-Heon asked Yoo Ji-ha to make something for her to make her feel warm. And with that, Seo Joo-Heon told the two of them to make a train to move them and other passengers from here. Seo Joo-Heon asked them immediately to make it and was protested by Yoo Ji-ha because how could someone make a train just like that? Seo Joo-Heon told Yoo Ji-ha to use the Da Vinci relic to make the train, and Louis made the rails. Seo, who saw Seo Joo-Heon, was busy at the moment planning to report about Chloe later, and for now Seo would just watch him and just hope that they would become a team again together. A news broadcast about a plane crash found on a small island in the Atlantic Ocean. It was reported that out of 296 people, only 16 people were reported to have survived, and said that the only survivors were people from the TBM, because they managed to survive by using relics to protect themselves before the plane was completely destroyed on the island. Sung Woo apologized to the media because he could only save 2 passengers and promised to compensate the families left behind, while on the other side, but with the same news. Seen Irene, who felt something was wrong when she saw the news on her television. Irene did not want to think bad first, and she was about to reach for her cell phone to call Julian to discuss the news broadcast. Julian also confirmed that Seo Joo-Heon was on the plane that crashed, and hearing that, Irene's face turned into surprise when Julian asked her to look at the news on another channel. The news reported that the terrorist who made the accident happen was Seo Joo-Heon. Irene was shocked to hear the news that blamed if Seo Joo-Heon was the main cause of the accident, and Irene was shocked when she heard that Seo Joo-Heon had died along with the plane crash. Irene immediately panicked when she got the news of the death. Even Julian on the other side did not believe the news that said if Seo Joo-Heon was the perpetrator of the terrorism of the plane. Julian also began to connect the incident where Seo Joo-Heon was on the same plane as TBM, and because only the TBM group survived, Julian was sure that something happened on the plane, and TBM blamed Seo Joo-Heon as the mastermind of terrorism. Julian will also look for more information, and he is sure if Seo Joo-Heon is still alive somewhere because he won't die that easily. Irene, who heard that, got a little hope, and she is willing to help to find where Seo Joo-Heon is located. There were several newspapers announcing the news of the death of Seo Joo-Heon. The 3 of them there looked satisfied when they saw the news because they managed to accuse Seo Joo-Heon as the villain. Yang Chen said that they would attend several interviews later. Yang Chen said that he had taken care of the surviving passengers and said that they had bribed them to keep quiet. Sung Jae was still skeptical about the possibility of many passengers surviving and knowing what really happened. Yang Chen then said that he had confirmed that there were no passengers who survived the accident, and gave a sharp look at Sung Jae, who did not believe what he said. Yang Chen admitted that he had sacrificed the lives of many other passengers just to kill Seo Joo-Heon, because if Yang Chen had not killed Seo Joo-Heon first, then he would have been killed by Seo Joo-Heon later. But since Seo Joo-Heon was dead now, Yang Chen could rest a little and watch the 2 brothers argue with each other because they were both still discussing about Sung Jae, who followed him. Meanwhile, in the cold North Pole, some people are seen warming themselves in front of the fire, which comes from Seo Joo-Heon's fire monster, and casually Seo Joo-Heon is seen asking if Yoo Ji-ha is done with his train, which managed to make Yoo Ji-ha angry. Seo Joo-Heon realized that making a train was very difficult, not to mention the complicated mechanism in it. Despite saying that, Seo Joo-Heon instead told Yoo Ji-ha to make a restaurant because he was hungry now. And in the end, Yoo Ji-ha managed to make a train in the middle of the snow forest. And the train worked well. Yoo Ji-ha was happy because the train he made could run properly. With this train, Seo Joo-Heon will head south, and later when he gets back his internet, he will solve this problem. Everyone who was a passenger on the flight believed in Seo Joo-Heon because he was the one who saved them all. Even without Seo Joo-Heon saying, they already knew that the cause of the accident was TBM and they planned to drop TBM. Seo Joo-Heon, who heard the ambition of the passengers, just smiled happily. But suddenly, a light shone in the direction of his face, and he saw his own bag that gave off a blue light. It turned out that the lit relic was the code of Hammurabi, and with that Seo Joo-Heon knew that they had destroyed the contract. Seen the burnt contract paper in the trash, Seung-woo must have thought that Seo Joo-Heon had died and destroyed the contract because he thought it was no longer valid. But what Seung-woo did only made him activate the code of Hammurabi relic, and Seo Joo-Heon intended to ask Yoo Ji-ha to make some repairs. Seen Sung-jae, who came to Seo Joo-Heon and said that he had remembered where CEO Kwon had put his safe. Seo Joo-Heon told Sung-jae to sit down and tell him where it was. And with that, Seo Joo-Heon managed to get information about CEO Kwon's safe. Sung-jae admitted that he didn't really remember the exact location, but Seo Joo-Heon intended to leave right then and there. Seo Joo-Heon felt that this was getting interesting, and she was now thinking of a plan on how she would destroy the safe. Shortly after that, Seo came and reported that she saw some buildings in the Western Hemisphere. Seo Joo-Heon, who heard that, asked her to stop at the city. Seo Joo-Heon did not expect that she would find a residential area like this, although the people from the passenger flight were more in number. But they still wanted to help the passengers, and Seo Joo-Heon got time to rest, and it seemed that they were north of Canada. Seo reported back that Seo Joo-Heon was able to use the internet in the house. Hearing that, Seo Joo-Heon just smiled and prepared to start his plan to counterattack Seung-woo. A while later, at Seung-woo's building, a downstairs reported something bad to Yang Chen. Seen in the news that the passengers who survived the previous plane crash were located in a small tribe in Canada, and what was surprising was where the people claimed the exact opposite of what was said by Seung-woo and Yang Chen. The passengers there admitted that the cause of their plane terrorism was not Seo Joo-Heon, and Seo Joo-Heon was the one who saved them. And with this news, Yang Chen again put on his annoyed and worried face. Right after that, Seung-woo came to see Yang Chen. Yang Chen tried to defend himself if he had confirmed all the passengers were dead, but Seung-woo did not believe it because they were all alive now. Yang Chen was asked to take responsibility because many people had gathered in front of their building and said that they would boycott TBM. Yang Chen also had a solution to issue a clarification. Seung-woo agreed and asked Yang Chen to do it right. Now, it was seen that Yang Chen was very angry with Seo Joo-Heon. Meanwhile, Seo Joo-Heon, who followed the news, became happy because his plan was successful, and he got a voice call from Julian. As soon as Seo Joo-Heon picked up the call, Julian immediately shouted, asking for an explanation from Seo Joo-Heon. Seeing Julian and Irene, who were happy and relieved there because they could confirm if Seo Joo-Heon was safe and alive. Seo Joo-Heon then explained that he used his relic and teleported to Canada. Julian offered to help if Seo Joo-Heon had a new plan to do later. But unfortunately, Seo Joo-Heon did not need Julian's help in his plan this time, because Seo Joo-Heon would destroy CEO Kwon's safe. Will Seo Joo-Heon succeed in destroying CEO Kwon's safe?